everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Man, was the divisional weekend incredible. Today, that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to give my takeaways from the divisional round, and we're going to give a quick look ahead to the championship matchups that will be going on this upcoming Sunday. Give it an early look. It'll be good. So go ahead and take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Fun fact, this is actually my first time having coffee in 2 weeks on this show. I have been lying and actually drinking orange juice and have not had coffee. But I have coffee now, and hopefully I won't be yawning. That's why your boy has kind of been yawning. Orange juice doesn't do quite the same effect. But anyway, fun little wake and take fact. Coffee's back. Good morning to you guys. Glad to see you in the chat. Happy Hudson. Glad to see you in the chat, Jamie, and everyone else pouring in. If you're listening, thank you for listening as well. You can find the podcast via the link in the description. And hey, if you like this Wake and Take mug, you can find the link to that in the description as well. Nice little good morning and all that stuff, little branding, little stuff going on. As it's known, right? Actually, Jamie, I don't know why I put your comment on the screen. I don't know why I'm doing it again. Actually, before we get into it, tonight we do have the college football championship. Pretty exciting stuff for the Buckeyes and the Irish fans. And I just want to say, as a Michigan fan, I don't know if I speak for everyone, and I probably don't, but I will say, I think I'm rooting for the Buckeyes tonight. I actually am. I think just because it's like, yeah, maybe we didn't win the national championship or even make it to the playoffs, but we did beat the Buckeyes. And if the Buckeyes win the national championship, then so does Michigan. And I can find some excitement about that. Of course, you know, making Big Ten better and all that stuff as well. So I honestly think, I don't know how many other Michigan fans are like me, but I think I'm going for the nasty, horrible, disgusting Ohio State Buckeyes. I think I am, honestly. And I hope it's a good game. We'll see. I'm honestly not a big college guy. I like the rivalries. I hope this is a good game, though. You know, we'll see. Best ball. Jeff, welcome in. Glad to see you guys. And you're tuning in at a great time because we're going to start with a little victory lap. Last Wednesday, we did our divisional preview, and I shared this underdog ticket with you guys. It was a 13Xer. Your boy only put $5 on it, and man, do I wish I put more. I turned that $5 into $66. I shared it with you guys. I really hope one of you tailed it. If one of you tailed this thing, literally just one, you will have made my week. I love it when we've had this a couple times. I always like to share these underdog tickets, and you know, I never recommend putting a ton on it, and maybe I should, I don't know, but I'm not a big gambler, and this ticket though was incredible. I was proud of it. I was firm in it. Knew all these things would happen. They all happened. I turned my $5 into $66. If you put any amount of money on this thing and copied me last Wednesday, let me know. It would just make my week. It really, really would. So we had Jaden Daniels over 294 total yards, Josh Allen scoring a rushing touchdown, Saquon over 111 rushing yards, and Travis Kelce finding the end zone with a receiving touchdown. Those were my picks. I talked about them on the episode, and they all came true. So pretty exciting stuff. Don't think I'm going to be able to hit this again. A 13Xer is pretty rare, but it was pretty exciting just watching each one come in, especially since it's like one per game. You know, you had the whole like suspense waiting for the next game. It's like, oh, yeah, the first one hit, the second one hit, the third one hit, and then I'm just watching the Bills-Ravens like, Josh Allen, please don't hand it off to James Cook. Please just run one in. And he does it in the first quarter. It was amazing. It was fantastic. So if you did copy this one, let me know. Because pretty exciting stuff. And I shared it on this show here on these wavelengths. Does not look so far in the chat that any of you did it, but hey, oh well. Oh well. Maybe next time. I do have an underdog ticket for the NFC Championship. Underdog hasn't put in anything for the AFC Championship yet, so I don't know. And this was, one per game. So I'll probably on Friday share another one. But we'll talk about it later. Let's get into the reactions. That's what you're here for. And that's the fun stuff. The wild card round, as we talked about last week, was pretty boring. The Commanders-Buccaneers game was incredible. Other than that, they all sucked. except for the winning teams. It was fun watching the winning teams in the wild card round, I won't lie, but there wasn't much competition. The divisional round, however, whew, was that some football. Like, that's why, personally, this is why I find the NFL such a superior product to college football. And I know that college has its things, but when you get to the good NFL playoffs, it just can't be beat, guys. It literally just cannot be beat. And every single one of these games this weekend was just, so good. And we're going to talk about it. So we'll go in chronological order here. We're going to start with the Chiefs-Texans game. And as we talked about, right, going into the game, this was one that I felt, the Texans were kind of fairly being a little disrespected here, that I felt that they could make this a little bit closer. They did end up covering the spread, which was nice. But unfortunately, ultimately, they kind of, I don't really know what happened. They really should have won this game by all means, but they just didn't. And I know that a lot of that's going to be the kind of referee controversy that I'll get into here in a second. But the Chiefs do win the game 23-14. Patrick Mahomes only 177 yards and a touchdown. Kareem Hunt leads the day in the rushing department with 44 yards and a touchdown. And Travis Kelce came to life with 7 receptions, 117 yards, and a touchdown. Like we talked about, right? The Chiefs were clearly saving Travis Kelce for the playoffs, and the stars show up on the biggest stage. So we knew Travis Kelce was going to have a big game. We know Travis Kelce's going to have a big game in the championship, and this is just what we should come to expect from the Chiefs really going forward in general. Like I talked about at the end of our fantasy season and the fantasy season recap, the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't really trust for fantasy. They only care about the playoffs. I don't really want Patrick Mahomes anymore. They just want to win games. They don't care about the fantasy points. They don't care about the yards. They don't care about this stuff. But when it gets to the playoffs, boy, do they. Boy, do they. Pretty exciting stuff to see Travis Kelce play well again. Just goes to show that he's definitely going to be playing next year as well. So don't write him off yet. I mean, it depends on his cost and everything that I'm sure we'll discuss over the offseason. But don't write him off yet. He's still awesome. And I kind of like, I saw some memes out there that he's kind of like the Matrix almost. Like he's just so slow that the defenders just can't cover him because it's like covering someone in slow motion. You're moving full speed and he just is so slow he's sneaking by you. Kind of funny stuff. He I don't know though. I mean, like he had some amazing yak. Averaged almost 17 yards of reception. Truly killed it. Looked like Travis Kelce out there. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately for the Texans, they played well. They had no turnovers. CJ Stroud threw for 245 yards, did not have a passing touchdown though. Joe Mixon had 88 yards and a touchdown. Dalton Schultz got involved. Xavier Hutchinson got involved. Nico Collins led the day, but no touchdowns from the passing department. Ultimately is going to be kind of what hurts this team, on top of Ka'imi Fairbairn missing 2 field goals, missing an extra point, and the referees just clearly, I hate to say it. I really hate to say it, because I'm not a big, I'm really not a big the NFL rigs games person. I'm really not. But man, it is hard to believe that when you watch the Chiefs get the calls they do on such a consistent basis. It's really painful. It really is just hard to watch some of these calls go their way. And it's even harder to watch Patrick Mahomes, I don't know, just complain when he doesn't get a call. I think he should be one of the ones that just chills. Just let the game happen. Because he's one of the dirtier players in the league, and I know that this is a common thought now going over the weekend. This is one of the trending discussions, is the Patrick Mahomes flopping problem, and especially his delayed sliding. We'll, of course, mention the roughing the passer, the unnecessary roughness, whatever you want to call it, on Patrick Mahomes after he, kind of runs to the sideline, acts like he's running out, then, slows down and just kind of falls at some point as a runner, and the Texans run into each other on defense, don't even hit Mahomes, and get called for unnecessary roughness. What are you supposed to do on defense? Seriously. I know that these rules are designed to protect the quarterback, but Patrick Mahomes especially takes severe advantage of this. It's almost like the Kenny Pickett fake slide thing that he pulled off, right? Like, it's like, what are you supposed to do against Patrick Mahomes when he's clearly trying to bait penalties? A part of the game, maybe. You know, I am a big soccer fan, so I don't necessarily hate flopping. Refs miss a lot of things, so to add some sort of flagrance to be like, hey, I got hit pretty hard, can you call it? That's maybe fine. But when you're just running out of bounds and you get pushed to make sure you go out of bounds, just barely, and you flop like that, that's a bit too far. You know, there's levels to it for sure. My big problem, though, is this sliding thing that he's doing. It's not even sliding. He's just, like, falling at the last second. And it's like, I don't know what you're supposed to do on defense. What are you supposed to do? And I'm worried that it's going to lead to some injuries of defenders just not even caring anymore. They know that they're going to get flagged no matter what, so they're just going to hit the shit out of a quarterback, accept the fine, and see what happens. And I don't want that to happen. No one wants that to happen. But at some point, that's going to have to happen to set an example. Or the NFL is going to have to do something about it. And I don't know how you can either, too. Unless they bring in finally, right? Like, we all want this. The sky judge? Just someone to be able to cancel out and or call penalties that were missed. I think that would be incredible. Challenging penalties, maybe. Challenging penalties would be good. They do that in Canadian football. Why can't we do that in the NFL? We have all the resources in the world, and we just genuinely let refs run the game. Which for the most part is fine. 90% of the time it's fine. But when there's some of these egregious issues that happen year in, year out, especially on the biggest stage, something has to give. And I really hope we start to see some changes. Maybe even just in the playoffs, right? Maybe even just in the playoffs we allow challenging penalties. Who cares? Right? But something that doesn't just completely alter how the game is going to go because of one measly flag that should or shouldn't have even been called. It sucks to watch. It sucks. It sucks so hard. It is a massive momentum swing. Especially when you aren't at fault. It's just hard to dig yourself up out of that. And my heart just goes out to the Texans. I'm very glad that they've come out and accepted that they're going to get fined. Will Anderson talked about how they're playing against the refs. Head coach DeMeco Ryans comes out and talks about how they're playing against the refs and just straight up, tears into them. They're going to get fined, but they don't care. And I respect that. So hopefully there's some changes. I doubt there will be, but hopefully there are. I also want to shout out ESPN stats before we move on to really bring home how painful this loss is for the Houston Texans. The Texans not only outgained the Kansas City Chiefs by over 100 yards, they also didn't turn the ball over. So they had 336 yards versus 212 yards with no turnovers and lost. And Benjamin Solak on Twitter tweets out per ESPN stats info, previous teams to do that, to outgain their opponent by over 100 yards and not turn the ball over, were 49-0 in the playoffs. 49-0. The Texans are the first team out of 50 teams to outgain their opponent by over 100 yards, not turn the ball over, and lose in the playoffs. Just gut-wrenching. To play a near-perfect football game and lose because your kicker can't kick a damn field goal, can't kick a damn extra point, but also because the refs keep calling unnecessary roughness and just missing things. It's pain. It sucks. And my heart goes out to the Houston Texans. I know they'll bounce back. This is a team that I believe in, a team I never gave up on, and I do think that CJ Stroud is going to be a lot better in year 3. Tank Dell will be healthy. Maybe they'll be able to bring back Diggs. Who knows? But as we saw from this defense, the team, DeMeco Ryans, kind of going back and forth on Bobby Slowick. I'm not going to lie. I don't like his play calling. But pretty much every other piece of that team really is a playoff caliber, almost championship caliber team minus a few pieces. So they're going to be back. I know it's hard to promise that, especially as we're about to lead into the Lions, that teams will be back. But I do believe in the Texans. I think that CJ Stroud's an unbelievable pro. And I do think that DeMeco Ryans is a good head coach. So heart goes out to the team. And that's all she wrote. The next game was the Commanders-Lions, and the Commanders win this game 45-31. And as we talked about on Wednesday, I did pick the Lions to win, but I did say that if there was an upset, other than the Bills be upsetting the Ravens, because I have no idea why the Ravens were favored, it would be the Commanders beating the Lions. And I said that the Lions are probably terrified going up against this Commanders team. I know I would be. With all those injuries on defense, this is why I said the Lions were not going to the Super Bowl this year. It sucked to say, I didn't want to admit it, but they were not going to the Super Bowl this year. Even if they win this one, right? They were going to lose to the Eagles, or they were going to lose in the Super Bowl. They were not a complete team at this point of the year, unfortunately. If the Super Bowl was played in Week 10, sure. But it wasn't. And just too many injuries piled up on this team to be able to make this true postseason run. And unfortunately for them, they matched up against one of the hottest quarterbacks of all time. I mean, Jaden Daniels is special. And this offense is firing on all cylinders. And when the Lions' game plan of score more points than the opponent, that's it. That's their game plan. You never want to go up against another team whose game plan is score more points than the opponent, right? They don't care about stopping. They just want to put up the points, and just didn't happen. I talked about, right? I said that this game ultimately depends what Jared Goff we are going to get. And I really hoped we wouldn't get Jared Goof. But man, we got Jared Goof. We got Jared Goof as hell. He threw 3 interceptions. He fumbled the ball. He got concussed on the pick 6. He was missing receivers, underthrowing them left and right. It was hard to watch Jared Goof back there, I'm not going to lie, because we all wanted the Lions to continue their Cinderella run. And now they're losing their coordinators. It sucks, man. Nothing is promised in this league. Nothing is guaranteed in this league. And to watch Jahmyr Gibbs do his thing, I mean, 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra, 137 yards. J-Mo with an incredible 61-yard rushing touchdown. Sam Laporta finding the end zone. Jared Goff still over 300 yards minus the 4 turnovers. When you say these things, you expect a team to win. They put up 31 points. But what happened? Jaden Daniels happened, and the Commanders put up 45. There were 42 total points scored in the second quarter. That second quarter, that was some of the best football ever. That I was just cheesing, texting my friends, tweeting, just like, my God, what is going on? J-Mo with the electric run, De'Ami Brown with the deep catches. Jaden Daniels, I mean, what a quarter, what a game. But Jaden Daniels, 299 pass yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 51 rush yards. De'Ami Brown with 98. Terry McLaurin with 87 and a touchdown. Brian Robinson with 2 touchdowns. No lost turnovers. A pick 6. This is the recipe for winning. We'll talk about it later. I don't think it's going to continue. Maybe it will, though. Maybe it will. But my heart really just goes out to the Lions, because they came in here expecting to at least make it to the NFC Championship like they did last year, but they kind of got embarrassed, man. I'm not going to lie. I know they only lost by 14, but the scoreboard really didn't show it. Like, it did. They sputtered so frequently. They had Jamison Williams throw a pass. Of course, leads to an interception. I love Jamison Williams. I would never have Jamison Williams throw a ball. Never. Never. I would have David Montgomery chuck that thing before. But unfortunately for the Lions, the injuries on defense piled up and they just couldn't stop this Commanders' high-powered offense. They just couldn't. And Jaden Daniels was just too good. It sucks. I talked about, right, that the Lions' game plan may be that they're going to come out with David Montgomery and try to run the ball, and that is what they did. They started the game 2 back-to-back carries to David Montgomery, and they went for negative yards. They immediately abandoned the game plan, and that played right into the Commanders' hands, right? Immediately. The Lions needed to play slower football. But when it turned into playing catch-up and putting the game on Jared Goff's back, it was over. It was over before it was even the second quarter, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I tweeted out like the top of the second quarter, oh no, we got Jared Goff and it's over. It sucks. But Jared Goff, as much as we like him, especially in the regular season, there's a difference between a playoff winning quarterback and a regular season winning quarterback. And unfortunately for Jared Goff, I know he's been in Super Bowls, it's just not it. He's just not the answer, and I don't know what the answer is in Detroit now. To be completely honest with you, what do? They're losing their coordinators. They've just extended Amon-Ra. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be deserving of money soon. Jameson Williams' rookie contract's expiring soon. Aiden Hutchinson's contract is probably coming up. Nothing is guaranteed in this league. Not a single damn thing. In this NFC North, now you've got an actual quarterback in Minnesota with J.J. McCarthy, a proven winner, in college at least. Caleb Williams and the Bears figuring their shit out. And as we talked about on Friday's episode, the Packers GM, Brian Gutekunst, talking about how he is ready to invest in a championship. It's only going to get harder from here for the Lions. It really, really sucks to get snake bitten by the defensive injuries for this team. Just so hard to watch. But shout out Jaden Daniels and the Commanders for getting it done. We'll talk about them some more later in the show. But I do want to say, while I'm here, shop around Terry McLaurin. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but I do believe in playoff hype. And in Dynasty, Terry McLaurin is gaining some value. He's killing it. Lots of people on Twitter talking about, see, this is the Terry McLaurin we were waiting for. He finally has his quarterback. But the Commanders are now primed, especially in the draft, but money-wise as well, with Jaden Daniels on a rookie contract. They are primed to add another outside wide receiver that may or may not be a true alpha, but at the very least will take away a lot of volume. And that's okay, right? I mean, Terry McLaurin's still going to be pretty damn good. I'm not saying he's going to be bad, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is about peak value for Terry McLaurin. And if you want to hold on to him, I'm not going to fault you, but I would at least put him on the block and kind of see what you could get right now. I would get some feelers. I would, personally, because he's having huge games right now in the playoffs, and the Commanders are playing unbelievably, and hype is at an all-time high around this team in general. So I would at least be seeing what we could get. If you could get a first or two, especially two, you take that thing. Probably a first and second. And I would be looking to swap him maybe for a younger option as well. Because I do think, and almost guarantee, right, that the Commanders are going to be adding another wide receiver. And yeah, you could just bet on Terry McLaurin and say he's still just going to be the alpha and better. But there's a difference between De'Ami Brown as your wide receiver 2 and someone like T. Higgins. Right? So I would be putting Terry McLaurin on the block, see what you can get in Dynasty. And we'll see. The next game, of course, Sunday, yesterday, was the Eagles-Rams. Eagles win this game 28-22, but man, oh man, was it close. What an end to the fourth quarter, guys. Saquon Barkley goes sicko mode, as called. I said on this show that Saquon Barkley was going to go sicko mode. I don't know why I do this to myself. He rushes for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. And at the end of the fourth quarter, with about 5 minutes left, has like a 60-yard rushing touchdown to basically ice the game. I mean, the announcers even go like, "Oh, the Eagles, they're going to the NFC Championship." And then Matthew Stafford. God, Matthew Stafford. I love him. I know that I talk about how much I love Matthew Stafford all the time. But there's just something about him. And this is what I mean when I talk about the difference between a playoff quarterback and a regular season quarterback. A playoff quarterback's like Matthew Stafford, where back against the wall, you are doing whatever it takes to win that fucking game. And man, oh man, did Matthew Stafford do whatever it took to win this game. About 4 minutes left, down 2 scores. 2 scores. Goes down. They have all 3 timeouts at this time. Oh, this is just a masterclass. Just a masterclass from not only Matthew Stafford, but Sean McVay as well. 4 minutes left, 3 timeouts, down 2 scores. What do? 2-minute drill, touchdown. No timeouts used. Kick the ball. Most coaches would probably just do an onside kick. Think it's over. No, just kick it. Kickoff. 3 and out. Use your timeouts. Get the ball back with 2.5 minutes, right? 2 minutes, whatever it was. And then, down 1 score. Down 6 even, because the Eagles missed an extra point. They could have won this game. Get into the red zone. Puka Nacua, clutch catch on the sideline. 1st and 10 inside the red zone. Doing it, man. Literally. They were going to win this game. They were going to win this game. And then there was a false start. Oh, a false start. A false start. That's what it comes down to. Yeah, sure, Kyren Williams fumbled. Yeah, sure, Matthew Stafford fumbled at a point in the game. And turnovers ultimately kill you. But they had it. And that guard that got that false start, I already know he did not want to go into that locker room after the game. There was just no way. Because without that false start, they not only get a first down, because it was they ended up at 3rd and 2, so it would have been, 1st and whatever at some point. They would have gotten a first down because they were back. But it killed the momentum. The Eagles' defensive line was exhausted. They were getting no pressure. They were in the no huddle, clicking, firing on all cylinders. False start. Pause. Substitution. Jalen Carter, sack, boom, over. It's just over at that point. All the momentum lost on one damn penalty. The masterclass that Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay did by saving those timeouts, by moving down the field quickly, by finding Tyler Higbee, for God's sake, erased by 1 5-yard penalty. And that's why this game is so beautiful. Not just a game of inches, a game of yards, a game of mental fortitude. You cannot get a false start there. Oh, that sucked. But I am glad the Eagles won. I'm not going to lie. I love Matthew Stafford. I do. Love seeing the Rams play well. I do. But I did want the Eagles to win because I respect this team a ton. Have no idea what's going on with A.J. Brown. No idea, so I'm not even going to try to talk about it. But Saquon Barkley is just such a stud. And Jalen Hurts is one of the most disrespected quarterbacks in the entire league. And so I just like to see him win. Because I don't get it. I truly do not understand the hate for Hurts. Maybe I don't get ball. I'm sure I'll get a ton of comments like, "Oh, you like Jalen Hurts? You must not know ball." Maybe. But when I see tweets left and right, Jalen Hurts is the most overrated quarterback in the league. You can't be the most overrated quarterback if everyone says you're overrated. That's not how it works. Simply put. So he's almost underrated at this point if everyone says he's overrated. Because he does what it takes to win. And what everyone's pointing to is, oh, he only went 15 to 20 for 128 passing yards and no passing touchdowns. Okay, Josh Allen went 16 to 22 for 127 passing yards and no passing touchdowns. And guess what? Jalen Hurts had 7 carries for 70 yards and an amazing rushing touchdown to open up the game. And also, guess what? Saquon Barkley had 200 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. You don't have to pass the ball if Saquon Barkley is doing that. And especially for Jalen Hurts, who clearly hurt his knee. Did you see the post-game interview? Dude was on perks like crazy. So yes, I believe that Jalen Hurts is a good NFL quarterback, and I think you're insane to think otherwise. You don't just find yourself in championship games and Super Bowls and winning records consistently if you're a bad quarterback. And yeah, sure, he's not a traditional quarterback, and yeah, sure, he can't do some of the things that a lot of quarterbacks can. But this offense is built around him. And there's not a lot of quarterbacks in the league that you can say that. And they build it around him because they believe in his skill set and they believe in him as a quarterback and they believe in him as a leader. And he's damn good at all those things that he's asked to do. Run the ball. Throw it to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And now Dallas Goedert's even getting involved. Hand it off to Saquon. You know? It's not rocket science. You don't have to be Patrick Mahomes. Especially if you're just not Patrick Mahomes, you're Jalen Hurts. So just get out of here with the Jalen Hurts hate. I really hope the Eagles win the Super Bowl. I don't know where my man Mark is at. Mark's normally in here. Mark, get in here. Because I'm going for the birds. Fly, Eagles, fly. Let's go Jalen Hurts. Awesome stuff. Get out of here with the hate. I don't want it. I don't want it. And finally, the Bills-Ravens. Why were the Ravens favored? That's my first question. That's what we talked about on Wednesday. Why were the Ravens favored? I don't care if they're the better team on paper. Quotes around that. This is Buffalo. This is Josh Allen. At home. The Ravens were not winning this game. Even if they played a perfect game, they weren't winning it. And of course, they didn't play a perfect game because that's just what the Ravens do. They just collapse in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson fumbles. Lamar Jackson throws an interception. Mark Andrews fumbles. Mark Andrews drops the game-tying 2-point conversion. Hard to watch if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan. Yes, ultimately the turnovers cost them, but the Buffalo Bills were winning this game regardless. Josh Allen was not going to lose this game. 2 rushing touchdowns for him. Already talked about the passing yard stats. Khalil Shakir doing his thing. Ray Davis finding the end zone. Defense consistently giving the Ravens fits. Like, I know a lot of people are saying, hey, the Ravens lost this game. They shot themselves in the foot. Can we give some credit to the Buffalo Bills defense? Is it too hard to ask to give some credit to the Buffalo Bills defense? Because it was a great game plan. And they went up there, and especially in the first half, shut down Derrick Henry. Do you know how hard it is to do that? But they did it. It was pretty impressive, the defensive game plan and what they were able to do. And yes, the turnovers fell their way. The Mark Andrews fumble shouldn't have happened. The Lamar Jackson fumble shouldn't have happened. But the interception should have. And the stemming of the Ravens offense in general should have and could have and would have. And so I'm going to be one of the first people to say, shout out Buffalo Bills defense for showing up. And shout out Josh Allen for putting this team on his back. I don't think there's another quarterback that can do what Josh Allen does. He is the team. And it's amazing what he's able to do with Khalil Shakir, Mac Hollins, Dalton Kincaid, Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, Dawson Knox. Like, he really doesn't have anyone. Yes, James Cook's a stud. And Khalil Shakir is doing a ton to prove himself valuable in PPR leagues and be a consistent piece of this offense. But compared to what the Bills are working with and what, like, the Ravens are working with, for example, it is just amazing to see Josh Allen put it together. It is amazing to watch this Buffalo Bills team. And why the Ravens were favored heading into Buffalo, I'll never understand. Because this is the Bills' year. This is Josh Allen's year. And man, is it just incredible to watch. And I do want to take a beat here because briefly went over the Mark Andrews situation, and I do want to talk about it with the dynasty lens. Mark Andrews, of course, fumbles. That sucks. But worst is the Ravens were there. And they still would have lost this game. I'm going to add that. There was a minute and a half left. They scored too quickly. There's no way in hell Josh Allen wouldn't gone down the field with a minute and a half and at least led the Bills to a game-winning field goal. So I know the Ravens are all upset this morning and blaming Mark Andrews. They were not going to win this game regardless. It's okay. But Mark Andrews drops the game-tying two-point conversion. And I mean, like, hits him in the basket, man. Like, that, I could have caught that. Really hard to watch. And so everyone right now in the dynasty streets is going crazy. It's Isaiah Likely season in 2025 if you read the internet. Mark Andrews isn't even going to be a Raven next year if you read the internet. Well, guess what? Mark Andrews is still going to be a huge piece of the Baltimore Ravens offense next year. He's under contract through 2025. And what really helps me believe that even more is Derrick Henry is also under contract for 2025. So this next year, 2025, that's the Ravens' year. In fact, I'll call it right now. The Ravens win the Super Bowl next year. They bounce back. They win the Super Bowl. I'm calling it right now. I'm going to stick to that. Right here, right now, January 20th, the Ravens will be in next year's Super Bowl and win it. They're keeping all the pieces together. Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews are going to be utilized just about the same as they were this year. Mark Andrews is going to be a huge piece of the offense, and he's not going anywhere, at least in 2025. Maybe in 2026, it's finally the Isaiah Likely breakout, full tight end one season. But the Ravens want Mark Andrews on this team because his contributions are more than just a receiver. He's a really good blocker as well. And he's a good person to have in the locker room. And hey, maybe Isaiah Likely becomes the tight end one and Mark Andrews becomes the tight end two. But injuries happen as well, and they need the depth on this team if they're trying to go to the Super Bowl. So both Mark Andrews and Derrick Henry are on contract for 2025 for the Ravens. Next year's their year. They're going to learn a ton from this game, and they're going to bounce back. So Ravens fans, I know it sucks now, but you weren't winning that game anyway. There was too much time on the clock. The Bills would have kicked a game-winning field goal at worst. You know? So, take a chill pill and enjoy next year's Super Bowl. It's going to be great. You guys might beat the Commanders. Like, how cool would that be? Lamar Jackson versus Jane Daniels, maybe? Who knows? But either way, the Ravens are winning the Super Bowl next year, and it's going to be okay. And you know, Mark Andrews, you're allowed to have a bad game because you've been amazing throughout your career, and I know you're going to bounce back next year. So peace to you, brother. All right, so those are my divisional reactions. Don't sell Mark Andrews. Don't buy Isaiah Likely. And hold on to Derrick Henry. Ooh, also, sell Rashad Bateman too. You know my take on Ravens receivers. It's important to note that Zay Flowers wasn't playing, and they are just too hit or miss. If you're in a managed dynasty league, if you could even get a second for Rashad Bateman, I'm taking it. And I know that a lot of people are going to say, oh, he's going to break out. Yeah, sure, whatever. I don't like those types of players on my dynasty rosters. I want to know when I can start a player. And I just don't think Rashad Bateman on the Ravens is ever going to be a player that I'm very comfortable starting. I just don't, especially with Zay Flowers out there. Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. It's just not going to be consistent enough. So if you can get a decent return, I'm talking a second for Rashad Bateman, take that thing. Do not buy Isaiah Likely right now based on the hype, and do not sell Mark Andrews. In fact, buy Mark Andrews. Buy Mark Andrews. But unfortunately for the Ravens, this is Buffalo's year, and Josh Allen's a total stud, and they were just not going to win that game regardless. So that is it for the divisional round. We do have some information about the championship. Just a quick preview. There's not a lot out there yet since it's only Monday and Vegas is still working, Underdog's still working. But I do have some fun stuff to talk about, so stick around. But first, hear from this message about Fast Draft.
Oh, I see all this mock draft information out there. Oh, this mock, that mock. Hey, what about a real actual fantasy game? The Flex 4 game on Fast Draft, draftfaster.com, is open. You draft 6 running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. The top 4 enter your lineup every week. It's that easy. It's that simple. Drafts take 5 minutes. There's a $50,000 prize pool. It's $15,000 to first. It's just a $5 entry. And the best part, no rake. No rake whatsoever on Fast Draft. The first 2025 Best Ball contest to open in the world is ready for you to draft up to 150 teams. Draftfaster.com, draftfaster.com. Start playing Best Ball for real.
As we talk about some of my 2025 takes, think about that. Fast Draft has tournaments open for next year's fantasy football season already, the Flex 4. It's only 6 rounds of drafting, happens super quickly. Take advantage of the early ADP and use promo code JASON for a first deposit match up to $25. If you put in $25, you'll get another $25. And that right there is a total of 10 entries into next year's tournament already. So go check it out. A lot of fun going on at Fast Draft. Use promo code Jason. And we are back for some AFC NFC Championship preview. This will be short. I ranted about the divisional games a lot more than I thought I would, but man, was that fun. Hope you guys enjoyed. Eagles Commanders is the first one, NFC Championship. And I do just want to say, Cowboys fans, Giants fans, they are sick. To see both of the NFC East teams in the championship, that has to be so painful. And especially for the Giants, to see just, oh yeah, we don't need Saquon Barkley. To let him go to the Eagles, and to just give the Eagles this, as well as win just enough games to let the Commanders get Jaden Daniels instead of them. Oh man. And especially, right, we saw on Hard Knocks, Joe Schoen's son was like, I don't care what it takes, Dad. Do whatever it takes to get Jaden Daniels. You're only a general manager once, and he's going to be a stud. And he was like, I don't know. And yeah, sure, they're happy with Malik Neighbors, but man, they could have had it all. They could have had, technically, maybe. The Commanders probably wouldn't have traded, but just imagine. There is a world where the Giants still kept Saquon Barkley and got Jaden Daniels. Like, there's a world where that happens. And so these Giants fans, they have to be sick to their stomach. And they have to watch Saquon Barkley for 2 more years at least, and now Jaden Daniels forever. Oof. And the Cowboys are rebuilding. Just fired their coaches. No idea what's going on with Dak. Oof. But I want to shout out Theo here because he had a really cool tweet about this game. And just talked about how it's Kellen Moore versus Cliff Kingsbury, right? Both of these first-time offensive coordinators on their team, at least. And how much they've done, right? Washington had 19 points per game in 2023, and now have 29 points per game this season. Philadelphia only had 23 points per game last year, 26.9 this year. Both teams heavily improved on offense, and a big part is those coordinators. So I do want to shout them out and shout out Theo for tweeting that out. And I also want to say to Dan Quinn, Commanders head coach, good job, man. I think that's incredible. I was pretty sad when the Falcons moved on from him. I'm not going to lie. I do believe in him as a head coach. Talked about it all last year as well. His whole brotherhood thing, he's a really good leader. He is. And yes, he needs the pieces. That's ultimately why he did move on in Atlanta. But I'm really glad that he was able to land on his feet and get in a team with a good coaching staff and players around him to where he truly can succeed and do what he does best. So, shout out Dan Quinn as well. Really just shout out the Commanders for getting here. Because it's It's really amazing. You know, we talked last year how amazing it was for the Texans to turn it around with CJ Stroud. The Commanders are in the NFC Championship. That's just incredible. So shout out them for getting this far. But I gotta say, at least my Jason take is they are not winning this game. And I hate to say it, you know. But the Eagles are favored by 4.5. It is in Philadelphia. And the total is 48.5. I do think it'll go over. I do think this will be an electric game. But they were 1-1 this year. The Commanders did win once, but if you look in the fine print, it was 36-33. And Kenny Pickett was the quarterback. And as I've talked about, since the playoffs started, the Eagles are my pick for the Super Bowl champ. They are a very complete team. They're a top 5 offense. They're a top 5 defense. And I just don't think, as well as Jaden Daniels has been playing, that they're going to be able to do enough to win this game. They're going to do enough to keep it close. They will. I mean, we saw 26-18 in November. That's still only a 1-score game. The Eagles won it, though. And they won it pretty handily, I might add. But in Philadelphia, with the Super Bowl on the line, ultimately, experience wins out here. And the Eagles have been here before, and they're just playing unbelievable football. And I also want to add that their almost loss to the Rams, I really think is going to fire them up. They were this close to losing it all. They let the foot off the gas, I won't lie. They enabled the Rams to be able to get there. They were saved. They were saved by that false start. And I really think that that's going to wake them up, and they're just going to go out here on Sunday, and they're going to clamp up this Commanders team. Like, it'll be close-ish. I think Jaden Daniels is going to look great. I do. I mean, we saw last time they played, he had 5 touchdowns. The time before that, he was pretty damn good as well. But this Eagles team to me is just too complete. Saquon Barkley in his 2 games against them had almost 300. Actually, if you include his receiving yards, in his 2 games, he had over 300 yards against them. And was that 4 touchdowns? So, over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns in the games that he's played the Commanders this year. Saquon Barkley's going to continue to go sicko mode. And Jalen Hurts is going to play well too. He had 221 passing yards last time he played them this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes over 200 again. This will be a shootout. Jaden Daniels, again, 5 touchdowns last time he played this Eagles defense. A touchdown before that, but that was his first time playing them. I think it'll be somewhere around 3 with maybe a rushing. But ultimately, I think this Eagles defensive line is just going to be too much. I don't think that they're going to be able to... The run game, for example. Like, Brian Robinson's really going to struggle. 24 rush yards last time he played them. And the time before that, only 63. I just don't think they're going to have a balanced attack. And the fact that Kenny Pickett was able to put 33 on this defense, to me, just kind of further brings home that point. And so, unfortunately for the Commanders, I do believe their Cinderella run comes to an end here. And the Eagles will be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. Will be an amazing game. I'm taking the over on the 48.5. And as far as the Eagles, 4.5, I think I'm going to take that too. I think they win by more than a field goal, you know? I hate to say it, but I really do. I think it's going to be one of those things where they're like up by a touchdown and the Commanders maybe have the ball to try to tie it up and just don't, you know? Something like that. But maybe, I mean, I will say, the Commanders have had a lot of luck this year. The Hail Mary, for example, matching up against the Detroit Lions defense. The doink field goal against the Buccaneers to win it. So, it could happen. I just don't think it will. I really don't think it will. I think this Eagles team, as I've said all postseason, and really all year, they're just too complete and they're playing too well. And I really do think the Rams is going to shock them back to some of that dominance, and they're just going to go out here and play lights out football. But we'll see. Gonna be a very exciting game. Both of these, man. Both of these championship games look incredible. And so, we're going with Eagles over 48.5. And Jamie corrects me. So, when I wrote this show sheet, it was 4.5, but it's now 5.5. Still going to take Eagles over that. I don't feel confident about it. I hate spread betting. I really don't. So I don't want anyone really to put any money on that. But that is where my heart's at. And Underdog did put out picks for this game. They have not done it for the AFC Championship yet. So this is my ticket for that. We'll see. It's a 3-leg, so not too much. But I have Saquon Barkley, rusher receiving. Jalen Hurts rushing or receiving touchdown, but I'm thinking he'll get a tush push. And then Jaden Daniels higher than 54.5 rushing yards. I will say the Jaden Daniels 54.5 rushing yards and the Saquon Barkley rush touchdown, that's money. And then I just added Jalen Hurts rush because I just feel like he's going to get a tush push. Just feels so Jalen Hurts. I don't know. So I added it just to, add some oomph to the ticket. But the Saquon and Jaden Daniels lines, especially the 54.5 rushing yards for Jaden Daniels, I think that's money. I do. 81 rush yards last time you played them. And also just season on the line. That's really when the quarterbacks begin to run more. So I'm calling it there. That's my ticket. They didn't have one for the AFC Championship, so this is the underdog ticket of the week. I will probably release one for the full playoffs on Friday as well, so tune into that. And lastly, the AFC Championship. Chiefs versus Bills in Kansas City. This is the 4th time Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes will be meeting in the playoffs, and it has been electric every time. 2021, Chiefs won 38-24. 2022, the Chiefs won 42-36. That was like the Super Bowl. And in 2024, last year, the Chiefs barely won. 27-24. The Bills should have won that game. And Buffalo won earlier this year. Believe it or not, Buffalo did win earlier this year. It was in Buffalo, but they won by like 10 points. I don't know why I didn't write down the score, but I did. 30-21. And so 9 points. And I honestly think, I don't know how. I wish I could tell you how. But the Bills do win this game. The Kansas City Chiefs are favored by 0.5. Currently. 0.5. Which does just so that if it was in Buffalo or even a neutral site, Vegas would pick the Buffalo Bills. And I just think 4th time's the charm, maybe. The Bills are good at losing things 4 times. But I can't explain it. It's just this is the Buffalo Bills' year to at least make the Super Bowl. I think that especially if they play the Eagles, I think they would lose. But I do think they can beat the Chiefs here. Last time they played, earlier this year, it was 21-30. The Bills did win that game. Patrick Mahomes had 3 passing touchdowns, one of his best games of the year. Xavier Worthy came to life. But Josh Allen was really good. Josh Allen had a passing touchdown, over 300 yards, had a rushing touchdown as well. James Cook had 2 rushing touchdowns. And I just think it's going to be like that again. I just think Josh Allen is ready, man. He got engaged this year. He's feeling himself. Just beat the Ravens. And heading into Kansas City, ready to get the monkey off his back. I think the Buffalo Bills win this game. Not sure how, besides Josh Allen. So I'll call it here. Josh Allen, 3 touchdowns in the air and a rushing touchdown. Just crushes it. And I'm also going to say Patrick Mahomes has a really good game. So 49.5 is the total. I think it's going to be right around that. If I had to bet, I would actually take the under. Even though I'm saying that that Josh Allen's gonna go crazy. If I had to bet, I would take the under. I could see this ending up being a little bit lower scoring just because of the Chiefs' defense. But I do think that both Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes look good in this game. We have seen them shoot out time and time again. And that's probably going to be how it goes. That's how Vegas has it. But if I had to put some money on it, I'd put like $5 on the under. Not a lot. But that's where I would go with that. But Bills win. And go to the Super Bowl versus the Eagles and lose. They do lose. But good stuff from the Bills. And I think they win this game. Again, I don't know how. I know that the Chiefs they consistently get everything going their way. They're really good on defense right now. But this Buffalo team, they're playing very, very well right now. Even on defense, which is rare from them. And I just think that Josh Allen is ready. Like, there's just a different fire in his eyes right now. He's not losing this game. Simply put, he's just not losing this game. And I know that's just matter of fact with no analysis, but I don't care. He's not losing this game. And the Bills are going to the Super Bowl. And I do have a DraftKings lineup for the weekend. Before we get you out of here, Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback. Saquon Barkley and James Cook at running back, Devontae Smith, Khalil Shakir, Xavier Worthy at wide receiver, Dallas Goedert at tight end, Hollywood Brown and flex, and then I put the Commanders at defense just because I don't think any of the defenses are going to be good, so I just picked the cheapest one. But Patrick Mahomes was the cheapest quarterback, and I do think, as we've seen and talked about, he shows up in the playoffs. He just does. So I think that he's going to be a good quarterback for DraftKings this weekend, especially since he's the cheapest by a wide amount. I think he's going to save some people some money to be able to have a good lineup around him. And this is what I went with. If you guys want to copy for like $1, I always recommend doing the free entries. They're just fun. The free, the 10 cent, the 25 cent, the $1. Why not? Have some extra fun this weekend. This is a lineup I put together. And we'll see. My FFPC playoff team as well that we drafted with everyone, still going strong. I have Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Xavier Worthy, and Terry McLaurin this weekend. So I hope those players continue to do well. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a magnificent Monday, a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you Wednesday. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.